Welcome to Bleav In 76ers with your hosts, former 76ers point guard Eric Snow and two Sixers fanatics in Marcus and Teja Dash. Bleav In 76ers is presented by BetOnline.AG.
BetOnline is your number one source for all your sports betting needs. Get the latest odds, lines, and matchup reports for baseball, boxing, golf, and more. BetOnline continues to be the fastest and easiest way to place your wagers, including live betting and your favorite casino and card games available to play right from your phone. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today and get in on the action. Remember to use promo code BLEAV for your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Bleav In 76ers podcast. I'm Marcus Dash here with legendary 76ers point guard Eric Snow, my brother Teja Dash. Guys, today marks the beginning of our Bleav In 76ers podcast offseason. It's going to be a fun one based on all the cap space we have, and I guess after Daryl Morey's comments the other day, I have positive thoughts about going into this offseason. It's going to be one to just watch every day, and rumors are going to be coming out. They've been coming out since last week, so it's going to be a fun offseason to dive into. You guys excited for this offseason? Think it's going to be a good one?
It better be.
Well, I'm excited to see which direction it goes. I mean, it's kind of hard to be very excited because we really don't have a feel for the direction. We don't really know who all's going to be free agents yet, and
going to be a lot of change in this team outside of Maxey and Embiid for sure.
I'm more nervous than excited just because it's not just us. We're counting on teams letting go talent that we want. So,
all right. So we're going to begin with Daryl Morey's comments from this week that kind of pretty much jump starts this whole offseason here. So Morey kind of gave some insight this week. So obviously we kind of mentioned it. So we have a long offseason, free agent rumors, trade rumors, resigning rumors, and even a mid first round pick at this point. So we're going to try and pace ourselves here. So first, we're going to go over Morey's press conference because there were definitely some nuggets there that are worth talking about. First, we'll dive into this one. He said he'll take a better team that needs to be managed to the playoffs over a worse team that is always available, and that he'd choose that 10 out of 10 times. What does that mean to you and for the Sixers as they go hunting this offseason?
Say that again. I kind of lost you.
Yeah, so Morey said that he'd take a better team that needs to be managed to the playoffs over a worse team that is always available, and that he'd choose that 10 out of 10 times. What does that mean to you and for the Sixers as they go hunting for players this offseason?
I'm not sure. I'm not really sure what it means. His preference. I don't think his preference is maybe the same as everyone. It can compete for a championship every year, however that looks. So I don't really know how to say it in any other context other than that.
So I think if I'm diving into Morey's head and speculating, I think it means we're shooting for the stars when it comes to free agency. I think they'd rather get the best player available, throw out age, throw out injury concerns. When he's at his best, he is the best player available, and then figure it out rather than getting a collection of more reliable day-to-day role players and then figure that out. I think he's thinking we can get the best team assembled, then we can just load manage the hell out of this season with Embiid and whatever older player we get. Especially if he's an injury-prone older player, just really load management and sacrifice eating a bit, right? So if he says, hey, I'd rather our stars be healthy for road playoff games than be battered and injured with a home court advantage, I'd rather have the underseeded healthy star team. I agree.
I mean, it essentially sounds like he likes what we did this past year. Because, it seemed like we had a lot of managing to do this whole season, and that wasn't really the best. Obviously, we have more money to spend for another player this year, but, there wasn't kind of a lot of managing because we didn't have everybody available every night, and we saw how that worked out this year. So I don't know.
I think he just goes for biggest name possible, best talent available. Even if he averaged 55 games the last 3 years, I don't think he cares about that. I think he's like, you know what? Just get it and figure it out. This year was more of a punt year. Hopefully we don't replicate that.
If you're getting injury-prone guys, you never know. Okay, so another thing that Morey said during his press conference, he got a lot of attention, was, quote, "We have interest in pretty much all of our free agents," and said that's not likely they're all back, and that it's about being helpful within the context of the CBA. What does that mean to you and for the Sixers as they decide on who to keep for this upcoming season from this current roster?
I mean, it means it's called a salary cap, and it's going to be casualties from that. If you're saying you're trying to put yourself in position to win championships consistently, and you're saying you're going to try to go get the best talent available, then that cost, and with that cost, there'll be some decisions that you have to make in letting guys go or renouncing guys' rights in order for that to happen. So I expect that if it does happen, that the team could look very different. Do you go the route of multiple players on nice deals or one big player and a lot of guys on smaller deals? So it remains to be seen, because the one thing that we haven't spoken about is we have to give Maxey a deal also, because we decided not to give him an extension last summer. So that has to be – those numbers have to be added up in there too.
Yeah, I think they're going to just not care about future – at least not this year, but future salary cap. They're like, you know what? We're going to go into luxury tax starting like next season, or probably this year, depending on how it shakes out. First thing I thought of when he said that was Morey's trying to be nice and keep good relationships with players and their agents. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have interest in bringing back every single free agent on our team. No specific names in mind. I just don't think I think off the bat, he's probably crossed off names off his board. I mean, let's be honest here. But after all the bad press he had last year with Harden, I don't blame him for playing it a little safer this year and saying the right thing. I think we'll swing for the fences with a big star, sign or trade another like medium-sized contract, and then sign as many of our own free agents as we can. I think luckily we can talk to our own free agents starting after the finals. So that gives us a little time to figure out who's willing to accept vet min, because I think the more players that accept vet min on the team, the more players that will be back next year. I think that's what it'll come down to, because after we suck up all the money on who, if we get one of our big targets, we're not going to be that much money left. And yes, it'll look.
We also got to make a decision on Paul Reed's contract, right? Because we didn't make it to the past the second round, or to the second round.
So he's not guaranteed.
I don't know if it's past or two.
Two.
Yeah.
So he's not guaranteed. So that's another guy. Probably won't be back at that price, I assume, and maybe we'll try to retain again. I don't know.
Oh yeah, they no. There's no way they can
now
take that deal.
So yeah.
Of the guys that are going to be free agents, which is pretty much everybody.
From the standpoint of going forward, you got to get a new deal. So
yeah, maybe we could throw him in a sign and trade for Lauri Markkanen. A Paul Reed sign and trade, and send him to Utah for Lauri Markkanen and then picks attached to it.
They did want him at some point, right? They signed him to that deal.
Yeah, they were the main competition with us. Of the guys who are going to be free agents, which is pretty much everybody, who do you think would be the top guys from the current team that you'd want back next year, Eric? Who would be like the top three guys you'd want back besides Maxey, obviously? Which I mean, they'll probably hammer out a deal at some point. But who would be the guys that you'd want to bring back? I know.
Obviously not including Maxey and Joel. I would say Kelly, Melton, and
Tough one. I didn't expect you to go Melton too.
Yeah, third. Huh?
I didn't expect you to go Melton too.
Well, I said Melton because we got eliminated because we couldn't defend a guard.
That's true. Yeah.
So that still has to be addressed.
Yeah.
I mean, the two guys that started, they're older. I would probably say Campaign.
Okay.
Because he's a guy that's probably going to get for less, and
yes,
and he can play a smaller role with effectiveness.
Yeah. I'd say Kelly, so we're aligned with the number one. I'd say Batum. Third one's tough. Melton just comes down to that back. That's 2.5 years of that same back problem. That worries me.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't looking at it from an injury standpoint, because if that's the case, then we got to start with the head guy. We talking about injuries.
Yeah, well, that's true. We're already locked into that contract, though. There's no renegotiating that one.
Yeah. I'm just saying in general, like we can't ignore his injuries, but then and call out everybody else's injuries.
No, it's true. It's true.
So we have to approach it as if the person is going to be who he is.
Okay, then yeah, Melton. I'd say Batum, Kelly, and Melton then. If we're just doing that.
Yeah. I would say the
realistically, those a little different. I'd say probably Payne's in my realistic list.
Yeah. Yeah, the kind of the consensus on Sixers social media is Kelly. Everybody wants Batum back. Melton's been a little split because of the back issue, which is funny that Eric, what Eric said. It's true. We're talking about back. We're talking about injuries for one guy. You got to talk about injuries for everybody. But yeah. But I do want to ask you about one guy. To Morey during his press conference, he mentioned Buddy Hield, and he kind of said something interesting that a lot of people were kind of like, I don't know, weirded out by why he'd be so honest in his I guess his exit presser with everybody to be so honest about Buddy Hield. So I just want to hear what you guys had to say about this one. Quote, at no fault of Buddy's, the fit was less good than I thought. Obviously, most of his time was without Joel, but I thought when Joel was back that his impact and his shooting, that he'd get more open shots, and he didn't. What did you think about do you think that pretty much means that Buddy Hield's done in Philly?
Yeah, that's exactly what it means. And that may very well be mutual also.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. It's a shame. But,
I think that, Buddy performed that last game, so you can easily say, and I remember when he first came, I said, no matter when he plays, you have to call plays for him.
Mm-hmm.
It has to be sets. He has to know. You have to do more to get him shots.
Yeah.
And I felt in the game that he played, and in game 6, they did that. They ran plays for him. They ran sets that they didn't run when he wasn't in the game. That drag screen, back screen, he popped, Joel rolled to the block. He got a wide open 3, then Joel got a post up with a foul. The next play. They didn't run that when he wasn't playing. So that's what I was saying. Like, they needed to do some more stuff specifically for him, because as we've seen, the Knicks would guard him differently.
Yeah.
So I don't know where this came in with minutes and we're playing guys, so I don't know where guys miss shots. Like it's other guys that miss shots and it didn't impact minutes.
Yep.
Sure.
That's all I'm saying. Like other guys miss shots and still played the next 2 games.
Yep.
So I thought it was a mistake to not give him a shot in the previous games before that. And I said that. I was verbal about that I thought that they should have played him or went to him at least more. Because like I said, even if he was not making shots, the Knicks were going to always play him like a guy that's capable of making shots.
Yep.
So that being said, I think that it didn't work, but I don't think it was all on Buddy for why it didn't work. I think it was on Buddy. I think it was on Nurse and not being able to make it happen, not being able to, as you all say, the creative mind that he is, offensive mind, and you can't find a way to get Buddy Hield shots. Like, I don't understand that. I really don't. I don't know. You got a guy that's getting double teamed. You got another guy that's averaging 26 points, and you can't find a way to get a shooter a shot when every other team in the league can find ways to get guys shots. Like, y'all got to help me understand how that's possible.
I felt like his leash was just so short. If he came in there and if he couldn't make a 3 in like a minute and a half, they yanked him. It was like, oh, you're off today. It's like, dude, I mean, you have to give a guy more time than that. That's like giving a running back like 2 carries.
That's what I'm saying. And that's not about him. That's not about him.
Yeah.
So I think it was little things that they didn't like about him or they weren't excited about, and it kind of impacted playing time, whether it was his defense, whether it was whatever it was, because when he first got there, not only was he shooting the ball, but he was making plays off the dribble.
Yeah, he was.
So you go from doing stuff that I didn't really know you were going to do, you kind of did more of what I expected.
Yeah.
And then we're thinking how it's going to complement Joel, and now Joel starts coming back and you play less. Like, yeah, I didn't get it. I really did not. It's not like Joel plays his position. That's what I'm saying. Only Joel came back, and Joel do not play his position. So what's the problem?
And the pickup was.
Now I understand Paul Reed when Joel come back played less, but what does a wing have to do with Joel coming back?
And the Hield pickup was pretty much for Joel's playing time. Like that's what it was.
Well, that's what was assumed. It was assumed it was for him.
I think they were just winging it too much.
Could have been. It could have been assumed, and I think it was more for getting a guy that was a free agent.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Just tried it and see if it worked.
So, but it's easy. But look, here's the one thing I'll share with you all. It's easy to pull away from playing a guy that you've already made your mind up you aren't bringing back. It's easy to stop playing that guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to worry about pissing him off. You don't have to worry about what his agent going to say. You don't have to worry about anything because you've already said this isn't the guy that we're bringing back.
Yeah. I mean, look at the Pacers and Buddy. They stopped giving him playing time. 2 weeks later, they traded him. He didn't even last the season.
Soon's in no deal. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It was easy. So I think it has something to do with that also.
Yeah.
I mean, you said it right when we signed Kyle Lowry. You're like, watch it. It's gonna impact Buddy's minutes, and it did really. I mean, because right when we got Buddy, he was playing a lot. And he was looking good. I think he was averaging 4.5 assists too on top of everything. And then Kyle Lowry comes and his play time goes like that. So
yeah.
What do you think the likelihood of Lowry coming back? Some Sixers fans really want him to come back, but what do you think the likelihood of that is, Eric?
I can see it. I mean, I believe Kyle still lives in Philly. Correct me on that. I'm not sure if that's where he lives during the offseason. But I can see it. I mean, it kind of depends on what he wants this stage of his career. Like,
Yeah.
I think if he lives there, he may really want that because you have children. They stay in this one house, one school, and it makes it easier from that standpoint. And then you have a coach that you're familiar with. So I think from his perspective, I would imagine that he wants to do it, unless, especially if he's ends up being a minimum guy throughout the league, then stay where you can have the best situation and the most comfort, be the most comfortable.
Yeah, Sixers fans are mixed feelings on that. They fear that if we have Lowry, then Nurse is going to want to play him as much as he did this year. Obviously, it depends on who we get next year, but that's the fear with a lot of Sixers fans, that we're going to continue to give him more minutes than he should be getting. But that's what I've been reading on Twitter.
That's a legitimate concern.
Yeah,
that's a legitimate concern. I see his minutes being managed throughout the season, though, because don't want to run him down like that. There's no point.
So we are going to get into some of the rumors of guys that the Sixers could be eyeing this offseason. So very early, and this definitely will get updated throughout the offseason. But so as of right now, what are your current power rankings as far as targets? And we're going to consider the possible compensation for each guy. So obviously Paul George, free agent, so that's going to be close to a max contract for him. Jimmy Butler, let's assume that we had to trade 2 picks to get him. Brandon Ingram, possible 3 picks we'd have to get him. Lauri Markkanen, 4 picks to get him, and Mikal Bridges, 4 picks to get him. Of those 4 guys or 5 guys, where would be your power rankings as far as top target to lowest target for you?
You can go, Teja. Go ahead.
Okay. Considering price tag and how much we'd have to trade. Okay. So first 2 are close for me. I'm going to go Bridges number 1 because of his price tag, age, fit. 4 picks is a lot to give up. I mean, it is a lot, but he'll make $23 million next year, which means we could still afford about $40 million to spend on free agents to fill out the roster. So I know we won't have the assets to trade out anymore, but we really wouldn't need to anymore at that point because we would just have a lot of money to spend after we get him. Lauri would be number 2 for me. I put him below Bridges because I think we covet a wing more than a stretch 4. I mean, that's pretty much what Morey said in his press conference. But Lauri can also play some 5 when Embiid's out. Can also play next to Embiid at 4. So he's kind of like what we envisioned Horford was going to be when we signed him many years ago. A guy who could play next to Embiid and the guy who could fill in at 5s for some minutes when Embiid's out. He makes $18 million next year. So we'd have about like $45 to $48 million to spend next to him. So that'd be, I mean, it's a lot. We'd have a lot of money to spread around. PG would be next. Cost a lot, but I think he's the next best player and fit. 40% three-point shooter, good defender when engaged, and we wouldn't have to give up any assets, which is maybe the best thing about going for him. Next would be Butler. Close to PG, not as good of a shooter, but more of a dog. It would cost assets, that sucks because they're about to be the same price. And then Ingram for me. I feel like he's kind of like the middle between all these guys. So he's not as good as the PG Butler, but also wouldn't cost as much either. I think he's on the hook for 36 before he has to get, re-upped for his contract extension. So we'd still have about 25, 30-ish to play with after we get him. So that's the kind of the middle between the two. He doesn't cost like the 49, 51, but he's also not like really, really flexible in the price that like the Lauri and Bridges are. But hey, if we feel like, he can, Nurse can get the best out of him, kind of like how he got the best out of Kelly this season, as far as like how Kelly looked on D. Kelly looked great on defense compared to his, what he was known for earlier in his career. If he can do the same thing with Ingram, then I mean, I'd be all for it. What you think?
Well, this one for me, individually, rank them like 1 through 5. I just put them tier 1, tier 2.
Okay.
And in tier 2, I have Paul and Jimmy in tier 2.
Ooh.
Because I think that for where we're trying to go, I'm not sure that bringing Jimmy back is the answer. I'm just not. Because I don't know who else is going to be on the team. And you got to have a certain culture with Jimmy. You can't have no soft dudes in that locker room. He'll break them down, and it could go sour quick.
Yeah.
And with Paul, I'm not sure you right now at this stage of Paul's career, if we get him, and then with those expectations that come with Paul George, I don't know if he'll ever be able to meet them this stage in his career on a consistent basis.
Valid.
So that's a concern of mine. In the tier 1, I could say with the age and the talent of the other 3, they all have fits, and none of the fits are the same.
Yeah.
So I would say they all can fit. Brandon Ingram, from a standpoint, isn't necessarily a knockdown shooter. He needs to play a little more with the basketball in his hands, but he's also a guy that can help you if we need to make sure Joel plays 65 games. So I do like that pick, especially if you can get it for less. Obviously, Mikal, we've been saying for years that he's the best fit to be your third or fourth guy.
Yeah.
And that's still a good fit. And then Marketing could be your second. If he's your third guy, you got a chance to be really, really good. So I would go the younger route, just for me. Go younger than Joel, and from that standpoint, and because you have Maxey that's younger, get someone that's a little closer to Maxey's age, and to help you moving forward, and then kind of build your team out from there.
Ingram's still 26, man. It's been in the league for like 7 or 8 years.
Yeah.
People have been down on Ingram, but I actually think it's a good move. I think they have too many ISO guys on that team. I think he could help with playmaking. He's averaged almost 6 assists the last 3 seasons. I think that would help. It would take. Even if we don't get a traditional point guard next to Maxey, that's someone else who can handle the ball and bring it up too, right? And he's not a Paul George 3-point shooter, but 39 and 36 the last 2. Go ahead.
Yeah, so he'll get some cleaner shots in Philly, and but you were talking about the point guards. I'm like, yeah, that's something that needs to be addressed also.
Yeah. Yeah. I was surprised by your list, though, Eric. I didn't think it was going to be that way. I like it.
Yeah.
If the compensation's the same with your top tier, who would you go for first out of those 3?
And that's what I was saying. Like, it's kind of hard because they all give you something that we need, but they're all different. So it kind of depends on like how you're going to build your team around that. So is Maxey going to be your primary ball handler? Is he not going to be your primary ball handler? Like some of that stuff that matters to me, because if Maxey's not going to be your primary ball handler, now you got a wing scoring more. So now maybe the fit isn't as well for Brandon Ingram. Maybe it's better for Bridges. But if Maxey is sort of at the point, then maybe you can have Brandon Ingram in there and put like a KCP in between those two.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Just something like that. It kind of depends how you fill out the rest of your roster. And that's why it was kind of hard for me to pick one particular player, because it's not like we just picking a guy and we already have our top 6 or 7 already set.
Yes.
What are your guys' thoughts on this? Is a guy I have not heard being thrown around a lot. I think Windhorse mentioned him during the trade deadline of us trying to trade for him to, maybe sign him. Was Miles Bridges? I know we talk about Mikal Bridges, but Miles Bridges is a free agent. What do you guys think about his potential fit?
I mean, he fits. I mean, he's a guy that can shoot the three, sort of a 4-3 or 3-4, whatever you want to call him. But I'd say it still depends on roster build for that. I wouldn't put him in the tier 1 with those guys. I wouldn't. I know Miles. I know he could impact the team, but I still need to see the roster build.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we struck out, I absolutely. I would be down to give him a lot more on a short-term deal than like just give him out because and it sounds like Morey's not going to do that. Like, we missed out on the top guys, so we need to get the next best guy a lot of money. It sounds like we're not going to do that. So if we strike out, we're going to go more towards.
I think he'll be more of a complementary with someone else. Like if we go the multiplayer route, something like that.
Yes, I agree with that. And with the money, because he is going to get a lot of money in his extension, Ingram, but 36 is pretty good for him at this point on the cap right now.
But he would have to play to get that. But he'll have to play to get it. He's going to have to play and perform to get it.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. But you still afford another like $30, $28 million under the cap. You could get a KCP next to him. That's the beauty of getting him and not getting like a PG. You get PG or Butler, we're pretty much done. We have like 15 left, and then we have to still try to get some of our own guys if they don't want the minimum. So Ingram opens that up a little bit to be like, okay, maybe you can get a Gary Trent. Maybe you can get a KCP at that point. A Bruce Brown. Any number of those guys.
Yeah, Gary Trent's been a popular name with among Sixers fans as a potential target for us.
We also didn't talk about, I know, because it would have been our actually, you know what? Let me ask you this, Eric, because the age thing, you downgraded those guys to tier 2. Would the age matter with LeBron? If LeBron's like, I'll sign a 2-year deal with Philly. Would he be tier 2 or would he be tier 1? I'm top target.
No, I'm taking LeBron over all. I'm taking LeBron over all of them.
Okay.
I'm taking LeBron over everyone.
All right.
On the list, yeah.
That's why we thought. Just don't even include LeBron.
There's more that comes with that. There's more that comes with that than just getting LeBron. Yeah, it's more that comes with that, man. You got a guy that, at the end of the day, like if he can be your third guy, like you got a chance to win. You get in the series, put it like this: if he's on our team this year, we don't lose to the Knicks.
Yeah,
that's my belief.
Yeah.
So
you think if we had George instead of Harris, we might have still lost to the Knicks?
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Another guy too, not any of these positions.
I like Paul. I think that I like Paul is just like right now at the stage of his career, like teams aren't double teaming him. They're playing him one-on-one. So he still can play. He's still talented as heck. But I'm just saying, like, the separation you can see in the last couple of years, like the separation with the consistency. Like he'll give you that game where he like, man, they can't do nothing with him. Then he'll give you the game, the next game, it's just like that. But that's what happens as you kind of get older and you haven't really been healthy. And that's, to me, that just shows that it's harder to be the number one guy, where he come to Philly, probably be the number 3 guy, and that probably suits him better nowadays. With him being older and he can lighten his load first in the game and health wise, that may be better for him. But that's also going to limit his opportunities to score. So you will be getting the guy that's going to do less because he would probably be in position to do less.
Yeah, he'd probably be in the corner like Tobias is, catch and shoot. Would he be doing most of his game?
And that's different. And that's a different basketball game. So you're asking a guy that has been doing ISOs and having the ball to now be regulated to getting the majority of his shots in the corner. Like I'm telling you right now, history says that doesn't work for a lot of guys that have played with the basketball in their hands a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. He is an awesome catch and shooter, though, I will say.
Yeah, he's an awesome catch and shooter because he has the basketball a lot. We don't know.
Yeah.
But history says those guys take a dip in their percentages.
Yeah. Yeah. It's also a lot of money to be paying someone for his reputation and what he's done throughout his career to come here and then be relegating him to a catch and shoot corner guy too. It's like that's kind of a waste of money, in my opinion.
But that's why if you kind of think back to what I said when we were talking about the players, and I was like, Paul would come here and he wouldn't be put in the situation to meet the expectations that will be put on him.
Yes. Yeah. A lot of people have said it'd be Tobias part 2.
Yeah, but I've heard that they're being thrown around about Brandon Ingram too.
That's all I'm saying is like I don't think he would be. He wouldn't be in position to do to do what he's expected to do.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to understand, like it got to be. That's what makes Bridges such the right guy, because he's been in that role before and he's perfected.
Yes.
So that's why everybody's so, him and the OG kind of fit, because that's kind of the role that's like implemented for them and their style and build and everything.
Yep. Bleacher Report had a projected trade. It was Dorian Finney-Smith and Mikal Bridges for a bunch of draft picks, which would be amazing if they were able to happen, but we shall see. So I know we talked about Jimmy Butler a little bit, but there's some possible drama brewing in Miami. Jimmy Butler had a viral video saying if he was healthy that they'd beat the Knicks and the Celtics. And then in his presser, Pat Riley essentially said, if you're not playing, then you should shut up, and that they'd be happy to talk contracts with guys who are available. And then this comes as there's speculation that the Sixers are going to be one of the teams that's going to be heavily interested in Jimmy Butler. But hearing Pat Riley's comments, this is enough smoke to mean that there is a fire, or is this nothing serious?
I mean, Pat Riley's not one to. I think he's going to say what he means. So I think that they want Jimmy there, but it's just we still going to do things the way we do them. If that changes, then you can see a change. You'll see a change in that roster. That's the one franchise I know that a player's not going to go down there and run that locker room in that organization. It's not going to happen. So, wouldn't surprise me if he's moved. Wouldn't surprise me if he stays there. But all I know is that no player's going in there and shaking that tree.
Yeah, you want to talk about being honest with Morey. Pat Riley doesn't mess around, man. He says exactly what he's doing. No, he doesn't mess around.
And he has Mickey, and he has Mickey that backs him. So they're in tune. And then Spoelstra, like they're in tune. Like you're not gonna get they all see things the same way, they all roll the same way. So you're not gonna go to one and play one against the other. No, that's not gonna happen with them. So everybody know it.
Yeah, apparently, I also read that Pat Riley has been growing frustrated with Jimmy Butler with the antics of him showing up to a player photos day last year with the the punk rock haircut. apparently he was pretty pissed off about that. Just those types of antics have been building up for a while with Pat Riley in the organization.
Yeah.
More than anything, I think is the availability. Riley said it in his press conference. Like, we'll pay players if they're available. Like, I want available players. So you show up, you play, you pay. We pay. So I think that's the biggest thing for him, right? I wouldn't say it's a full-on fire yet, but it's definitely something to monitor. Jimmy, if he wants an extension, he's not getting it. Jimmy's not one to back down, never has. And Riley's not one to mess around when he feels like a player is challenging him. So at some point, they might cross paths, and it's going to have to be dealt with, right? So as of right now, nothing worth calling the cops over, but it's definitely something to have your ear out for.
Yeah.
But Miami have shown that they're willing and ready to make moves when necessary.
Yeah.
That's what they've shown us.
Yep.
So I wouldn't doubt that.
Yep. In the same presser, he also mentioned the same thing about availability, with the same thing with Tyler Hero as well. So he's pretty consistent about the guys being available to play in the same comments there. All right, so lastly, we're going to wrap up here with some PG news. So in L.A., Lawrence Frank, the head of basketball operations there, had this to say, quote, I think the thing is every deal has to work for both sides, and I think we got to a point where we just said, you know what, we can continue the conversations, but let's just table it until the end of the year. So I anticipate that we'll pick up conversations. Everything's been on a very, I'd say, cooperative and collaborative measure, and he can sign his extension up till July 1st. And then he can also test free agency, and we're hopeful that we can still bring him back. Meanwhile, there was a report that PG turned down multiple offers from the Clippers and that he wants nothing short of a max. Again, is this real, or is PG just kind of using this, using the Sixers as leverage as far as wanting to test out free agency to see what the Sixers can offer? We've seen this whole leverage game play out over the last year with the Harden situation last year.
And a few years ago with Paul George and LeBron, who also uses for leverage.
That's right.
4 or 5 years ago.
I think it's leverage. I think he'll leave. I think he would if a team can somehow blow him away with a deal, or the only way that maybe a team gives him more years than the Clippers are willing to give him. What if his extension with the Clippers is only 2 years? Maybe it's the years and not necessarily the amount. We don't know. So I could see maybe the years being more into the issue than the actual amount, because they their owner has the longest arms in the league, so that's not an issue.
Yeah.
We know that money's not an issue. Yeah. So they're going into the new arena, so he wants to have some form of a splash and a good team. So if I had to guess, I would say the years being the issue more than the money.
Yeah. A buddy of mine I texted with the big guy, he's a big Knicks
or
fan.
the guaranteed years or something like that.
He was saying we argue about Paul George, and he said the same thing. He was like, there's no way a guy with that much money is going to let an asset get away for free. There's just no way that's possible. But then again, it's a new dawn, right? It's a dawn of a new day, and for the NBA with the second apron and cap restrictions, like these are the kind of messages that GMs out now.
If Paul leaves, I do not think Paul leaves as a free agent. I think he leaves in a sign and trade. Yes. Yeah, that's my belief. I don't believe the Clippers will let him walk. They'll come to a mutual agreement to get some assets from it.
Hmm.
And that's where it gets tricky because, you can sign him for more. And are you willing to, like in our situation, are we willing to sign him and give up something? Or are we willing to sign him just as a free agent and keep our picks?
I think it comes down to whether he wants to play ball or not, right? Because if he says, nah, I'll just leave and sign with somebody else, then they can't do anything about that. It's over, right? They're done. The best they can do is say, hey, Paul, let's get you the most amount of money possible. If we do a sign and trade, you get the full max, and then we can trade you. So that's one thing, but it all comes down to pretty much him in the end. It's interesting though, but you get to see this is the repercussions from the new cap restrictions. This is what it's turned into. I mean, teams are going to have to be a little more calculated, in how they do things. They gave Kawhi a lot of money tied up. They still want to re-sign Harden apparently. So that's just, I mean, it's not an endless cap pit anymore. Like there are repercussions to going over, and you are restricted. And they gave away a lot of their picks to us, so they don't have a cupboard full of assets anymore. So that's going to be a problem for them. So they're going to have to figure it out. I feel like in the end, they're going to have to be forced to pay him. I feel like they're going to have to do it. They're playing hardball because they can at this point.
I mean, my thing is the reason why Philly's name keeps coming up is because it's very few teams that'll have the ability to sign him. Yeah.
That are good, that are contenders.
That he would go to over the Clippers.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's not as much leverage as you think to say, I think they will sign him, but for him getting that deal, I think once you see what's out there, you become a free agent, you see what's out there, things could change quickly.
Yeah.
If it came down to a sign and trade, and then obviously with the Butler situation, we would have to trade something for that as well. Who'd you rather go for between a Butler or Jimmy if it came down to those two, or Jimmy or Paul George if it came down to those two and had to do a sign and trade?
George.
Sign and trade. Like I said, it really depends on the build of the other roster. It's kind of hard to say it right now. I mean, being that we've had Jimmy, I'll just say, okay, let's do something different and go with Paul. But I think Paul is a 1 or 2 year guy. Jimmy may very well be the same too. I don't know. But if we're getting one of those two guys, then we got to be saying, let's try to win the championship within the next year or two. And that has to be the focus. So you got to build a roster around there, like you're trying to do that.
Yeah.
I say they do whatever they got to do to get Bridges, and then you sign Miles Bridges, and you have both Bridges on the squad. That'd be kind of fun. Would that work? Bridges and Bridges? Like schematically, would those two work together with Embiid and Maxey? Or is that too much of a redundancy between Miles and
bigger? I think you'd want a bigger four if you got Miles. Mikal.
Yeah. I mean, monetarily, that would work financially, right? You could be able to trade for Mikal Bridges and also sign Miles Bridges, right?
Depends on Miles' contract, but yeah. I don't think he'll be commanding 35 plus. Yeah.
That would be fun.
Certainly possible.
Yeah. I'm going to hitch my tail to that wagon, the Bridges and Bridges offseason.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We'll see.
We shall see. But all right, guys. Well, that does it for us. Thanks for tuning in to our first offseason episode of the offseason. We'll see you guys next time. I hope everybody has a good weekend.
Later, guys.